METTC is a mnemonic used by the military to help soldiers remember and prioritize what mission variables to analyze. METTC stands for Mission, Enemy, Terrain and Weather, Troops and Support Available, Time Available, and Civil Considerations, or Civilians. Build a personalized plan of action. The person who knows you best is you. You are your own first line of defense. Let's talk about how we can use it in the context of preparedness planning. In the military, the mission is the task and purpose that clearly states the goal. It is always the first variable leaders consider during decision making. A mission statement contains the who, what, where, when, and why of the operation. In a survival and prepping scenario, what are your goals? Defending your homestead, block, or city? Is it to survive the night in inclement weather? Is it to make a cross-desert trek? Identify your final goal. That is what your mission is. From there, identify the steps you need to make it happen, like increasing your core body temperature, finding or constructing shelter, or making your way to the nearest indicator of civilization. Enemy disposition is an important part of military planning. The enemy's capabilities, equipment, morale, and resupply routes are a few things that are important to take note of. Weaknesses and strengths have to be evaluated and exploited. Knowing as much about the enemy is important and is based on thorough research and reconnaissance. For our purposes, you may need to be planning to encounter hostile humans, whether it's some kind of societal breakdown, looting or shooting situation, or general high crime. But think beyond people, and anything that can hurt you or kill you can be listed as an enemy to be aware of. The needs of someone living in India has a different wildlife consideration than someone living in New York. Bugs, terrain, plants, predatory animals. There are so many variables you must do a thorough study of where you live or plan to visit if you're serious about coming up with plans to encounter whatever you've determined to be the enemy. In military planning, the terrain and weather are linked and impact each other in the planning process. Natural terrain features like valleys, rivers, and mountains, along with man-made features like towns, obstacles, or airfields, are heavily analyzed using the acronym OCOCA, which stands for Observation in Fields of Fire, Cover and Concealment, Obstacles, Key and Decisive Terrain, and Avenues of Approach. That's a separate video in itself. Wind, rain, cloud cover, temperature, humidity, and visibility are taken into account in the weather analysis. For instance, the high ground on a cloudless temperate day with low humidity and interlocking fields of fire that cover all avenues of approach is the ideal place to hang out a bit and watch the wildlife. This plays into prepping and survival planning for your area of responsibility in an obvious way. If you know your local weather cycles, you know what times of the year cold or heat will be an issue and what conditions would look like. You would know when you should pack for rain or extreme heat or any weather. Know what you're coming up against through the course of your mission and understand your terrain. This includes how many, the type, capabilities, and the physical and mental condition of your troops and support elements. Morale and equipment, as well as energy levels based on how well rested troops are very important in mission planning. Obviously, in a military capacity, overestimating your force's capabilities can lead to disaster, so it's an important detail of the planning stage to get correct. If you're with a group of people, it's critical to know what their capabilities are, their personalities, and their unique skill sets. Are they extremely fit but have no specialty to offer? Are they medically trained but they're a 110-pound Filipino female? Are they a skilled mechanic that can fix anything, but they're 60 years old with a hip replacement? Does anyone need insulin? Knowing your troops, your people, will determine how you can best fit them to certain roles and tasks that they need to do in order to be the most effective. In the military, you could at least trust that everyone meets the bare minimum that allowed them to pass basic training. If you begin to incorporate strangers, that makes this even harder. You can't accurately gauge their mental states against a known baseline, nor will you know if they're being truthful about their capabilities until maybe it's possibly too late. That's something you have to become good at assessing early on. Never forget that a lot of people tend to overestimate themselves when it comes to performing a self-assessment, so be truthful even about yourself and find ways to fill the gap between your perception and reality. Remember that saying, you don't rise to the occasion, you default to your last mastered level of training. Military leadership assesses time for planning, preparing, and execution of the mission. How long will recon take? How much time until troops arrive, rearm, refuel, or resupply? How long will it take to return from the objective? How much time is spent on the objective? How quick can the enemy probably respond? And so on. This can be a one-night raid or a thorough 2-week period of observation on a village in a valley. Out in the survival situation, depending on your mission, time is either on your side or very deficient, and everything is constantly shifting. Your long-term mission may be unchanged, but your immediate needs may dictate you to do something quickly. For instance, your overall mission may be to prepare for looting and service disruption in a major city, or you live in or around the business district and you've got items to defend yourself stowed away along with extra food and other items. However, someone is attempting to break into your home right now. You might not have the time to go put on your kit. Does anyone really plan for encountering an intruder waiting for them to come out of the shower? In the old country, one of my relatives has a weapon in every room, just in case, set up for this reason. Is that something you'd want to do? Is that something that you're financially able to do? Is that something that you're able to safely do? That's all up to you. Be aware that time is a critical part of your plans. How quick you can react to an emergency or adjust to meet it is as critical as having all the time to craft the perfect plan and scenario. This relates to the level of influence that institutions, civilians, leaders, and groups have on a military operation. In a survival context, will you be the oddball hermit of your community, or will they see you as a good unifying leader with some skills? If you're in New York, the skills you could use to gain people's support would likely be different than the skills needed in Key West. An electrician or mechanic could be valuable everywhere. Areas may also place an emphasis on personal religious beliefs. It could also be really simple. Maybe a member of your family responds to more calls rather than texts. The mindsets and habits of people in your group, around your group, and in your local region are an important thing to consider. Another thing to consider that not many people talk about because it isn't PC, your ethnicity can be used against you in the local area, whether by the neighborhood or local media. Maybe you defend yourself or you do something that's taken as an insult, and you might just spark a larger problem. If the worst happens, maybe having an executable evacuation mission to another area is something you should have on standby. So I hope this helps cover a way to organize your plans. MetTC can help you plan a homestead, a hike, a move to a new location, just as much as it helps plan military operations. Life and living is a mission worth planning for, and having a backup plan and a network of knowledge will do you so much better than buying every toy or gadget people tell you to buy while remaining a loner. If you have any questions or suggestions, I encourage you to comment down below. I know more can always be added. That's the main benefit of this platform. One can get the ball rolling, and then minds can come together. So until the next video, be good, stay safe, and have a good one.